Hello everyone, I hope everybody's doing good. Last Friday I went to the flea market to try to pick up some lawnmowers, and I walked around and there wasn't any lawnmowers around, but there's one vendor that I've been dealing with for about 11 years now. I stopped and I talked to him for a while, and he said he had two mowers at home that he wanted to get rid of. Now, I've been dealing with him for about 11 years now, and I take care of him, he takes care of me. Sometimes he needs a part and I'll have a good used part and I'll give it to him, and vice versa. So he told me he had two mowers at home. One is this, I believe it's a 21-inch Craftsman, and it has a classic engine on it, which are one of my favorite engines. And he also had this other machine there. It's a self-propelled, has a 6 3/4 horse. I think it's a Briggs & Stratton. But it's that one with that stupid carburetor, that plastic carburetor on it. So I gave that a couple of pulls real quick. Seems like it has a compression leak. I don't know if it's a head gasket or what. I know the power drive works, because when I locked it into the power drive mode, I couldn't push the mower, so that indicates that the power, that the self-propel works. I had a couple of these, but what I did was I put the other Quantum engine on it with the, with the metal carburetor. I don't know if they're from the 90s, whatever that engine is. I always prefer that engine. These carburetors are a real pain on these things, and plus, being that it has that compression leak, it's not really worth fixing. I have to look in the shed here and see if I have like a 6.5 horsepower Quantum engine I could put on it. I've done that before and it worked out really well. So my intentions are to just get another engine for it and deep six this engine. Because, you don't want to go too crazy with these machines, being that, they're for resale. Already you're going to put in more labor than you're going to get back on it. So, and as far as this one goes here, we're going to be working on this one today. What he told me Friday when I went, he said the gas tank had a hole in it. Rusted out, of course, like they do. And Saturday morning when he brought the machines in, he said he found this gas tank with the carburetor on it. And I put some gasoline in the gas tank, and I don't see any leaks, and the gas tank looks pretty clean to me. So what I intend to do is this primer bulb here is very mushy and squishy and stuff. And this one seems to be alright. So the first thing I did, I checked the oils. It has oil in it. I checked the blade. There's a blade on it, but the blade's no good. This machine here is like one of those machines that you would most likely find in the garbage. It's pretty beat up. But the good thing about this is the deck is in really good shape. It's not rotted out anywhere or anything like that. So it's missing the shut-off cable right from the get-go here. So I don't think I have any used cables or used blades. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look and see. That's why you have to be careful when you want to fix these machines up for resale. So already, if I have to buy a new blade and then that cable, and then I'm going to want to change the pull start cord, you're going to want to change the plug, put a new air filter in it. You're already at the point right there to where you'll get your money back after you sell it, but that doesn't include the labor that you're going to put into it. So being that this has oil in it, and the blade is on there and the blade's tight, what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'll pop the air filter off. I'll just prime it with some gas and see if it starts up. If it starts, then we'll go on with the carburetor work. Okay, like I said, the shut-off cable is disconnected, and what it has here, it has like a spring-loaded, this is the spring-loaded linkage here, which when you release the cable, the spring gives tension and hits the kill switch and locks up the brake, the flywheel brake in there. So I see that, I guess he must have disconnected the spring here. So I'm just going to move this linkage back this way. And I did put a little gas in the carburetor. The primary thing we want to do right now is make sure that it'll start before we go on with anything else. And then after I do the carburetor cleaning on it, and I can get it to run for a while, I want to make sure there's no rod knocking the engine or bad piston rings or something to where it's smoking like crazy. So we're going to go on and try to just fire this thing up with the little bit of gas I poured in the carburetor. Let me just move you over here a little bit. So let's see how it goes with it. Oh, I want to keep, oh no, I don't have to, because I could just move the linkage because he disconnected the spring, so we could just, it'll probably just stall anyway if it does start at all. Alright, so that's a good sign right there. You got this thing like all the way full throttle. Alright, that's enough for me to determine whether to go on with this. So we're going to go on with it. I'm going to get set up on the table and we'll take the carburetor off and do the gas tank switch and clean out the carburetor that we're putting on the machine. Okay, so I'm somewhat set up here to, well, I am set up. We're going to take the whole carburetor and gas tank assembly off this. What I did to save some time, the carburetor that we are using, the gas tank that we are using, I took the carburetor off that, and then I'll show you what we have to do to clean that up. Inside the tank looks pretty clean on the one that we are using, but there's a whole bunch of crud on top. I'll show you when we get to that point where the carburetor mounts in there. It's pretty cruddy. So you'll need a 3/8 socket or a wrench to take this bolt out here. It's only 2 bolts to hold the whole thing on. Pretty sure I'm in your way pretty good here right now. And then you have one, you'll be using a 1/2-inch socket. And then between the tank mount and the block, there's a spacer in there. Sometimes the spacer's bolted in there, and sometimes the spacer just floats in there. So you don't want to lose that, and be sure that you put it back together the right way. Okay, so we got that. And then there's the linkage. There's only one piece of linkage that goes into the throttle assembly here. And then you just want to twist your tank here and pull that off. Okay, we got that off. This spring here is all messed up. It's broken and everything. The governor spring, that's why I was racing a little. Now I notice that it's like broken. I'll just have to repair that for now. I probably have another spring for it. So, okay, so we got a whole bunch of crud in here that we gotta clean out. I'm gonna clean all this up, even though we're not using the tank. and I'll clean this carburetor off real good that we're using here, and then we'll take it apart, and then I'll show you how to clean all the ports and everything out in the carburetor that we're going to be using. Okay, so remember, this is the carburetor that we're using, and this is the gas tank that's no good. And what I'll do is I'll just keep the gas cap. I'll keep that, and I'll throw the gas tank in the scrap bin. And there's 5 screws in here that we're going to remove to get the carburetor out from the top of the tank. I'm hoping I could save the gasket and diaphragm. If not, I'll just have to go up the street and get another one, because I tried to save time. I think I said it already. I pulled the carburetor off the other tank, and that gasket diaphragm's no good. Already this is stuck on here. Oh, I missed one of the screws. Missed one. Still stuck anyway. There it goes. I'm just trying to get the screws out. This way I can, I'll get the blade and see if I can try to save this gasket from breaking, which I highly doubt it. Looks like I'll be going up the road to get a gasket and diaphragm, but let's try it. To save some time, I'm going to shut the camera off for a minute and try to get the gasket apart without ripping it. Okay, so I was able to get this gasket diaphragm off. It should really be replaced, but we're not putting any money into this until we make sure it runs good and everything. So I think we can get by with just using this for now. We'll use this again. And so far what I did was, to get that gasket off, I had to pull this, I guess you would call it the inlet, sucks the gas up from the tank. I pulled this out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean all this. There's a little screen on here and everything. So I'm going to clean this all up. And I'm going to clean out all the ports in here and everything. And then I'm gonna have to clean out the top of the tank here. I mean, the inside of the tank looks good, but there's a whole bunch of crud. I don't know, you know, the gas turned bad after a while. So I'm gonna have to get all this out of here, and I have to spray it. You know, for this I use brake clean to clean all this out. And then I want to flush out the tank again, and then we'll put it together and see if it primes. I'll put some gas in it before we put it on the machine, make sure it primes, and then we can start the machine up and run the machine. So let me see if I can remember. We have to take this off right here, and I'll clean this up real good. It's another screen that goes over this. It's like the main jet there, if I remember correctly. Might have to go inside and get another can of WD, because it's losing pressure here. And then we have another port here. Then I always see if I can, where it primes, where that jet, when you push the primer, there's another jet in there. I'll try to spray some WD down in there and try to make sure that's cleaned out real good. I have to go in and get another can of WD. It's going through, but there's hardly any pressure here. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, so I lost a lot of footage on here. I was recording when I shouldn't, and when I should have been recording, I didn't. So, okay, so what I did was I cleaned out these ports in here real good. I was like scooping the, you know, the particles out of there. That gas went bad. It was just like sand in there. I was just scooping it all out and everything. So, right now, I'm at the point where everything's all cleaned up. I cleaned all the ports out in the carburetor. I think I got that footage. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reassemble the carburetor back onto the tank, and we'll start it up and see how it runs, if it runs, whatever. So let me get this gasket back on here. And I'm not putting any money into this until I know that it runs good. So I'll just place the gasket here and diaphragm, and then I'll take and we'll stick this back in where it goes here. This thing just clips in there. You can just push it right in and all. It just clips right in. And then I'll take this screen, put it back over the main jet assembly here. And I have our little spring that goes there for the fuel pressure. And then we just plop this back in, and I'll screw it in, and I'll put it back on the machine. I'm working on it backwards here. I got that in the wrong. Ooh, I got this thing on wrong. Yeah, I do. This goes in here. Okay, clicked in. Okay. still wish I had a cameraman. Get these two going, and then I'll put the rest of the screws in. Okay, you guys know what's going on. I'm just going to screw this all back together. And then I'm going to put it on the machine. You saw me take it off the machine. Just reverse procedure on that. Okay, so it ends up that this has a hole in the gas tank too. But I noticed on this tank here, on the inside, it was rusted out a lot more than the original tank. And what I found on the original tank is this one hole here. You can see it. Yeah, right here. There's a hole right here. But the rest of the tank seems to be pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the tank upside down and clean this up real good. And I'm going to put some JB Weld on there. Now in the meantime, I got the machine running to start up. And I'm going to let it run. And because what I had to do is I had to change this spring. This spring here was mutilated. So I changed the governor spring on it. And I got it set pretty well. And I just want to burn some of the gas out of the gas tank here. And the muffler, I'm hoping, is just full of oil. Because he says it's get put on their sides, flipped around, whatever. So I'm just hoping that there's just oil in the muffler here. But I have to run it anyway. I got to run the gas out of this. I'll let it run till it runs out of gas because I want to... I can't put it back in the shed with it leaking gas. So... Okay, I'm going to start it up now and let it run for a minute or two. And then I'll come back to you after, and hopefully the smoke clears. Okay, so I'm going to start it up now, let it run. And like I said, I'll get back to you if the smoke clears or when it clears. And coming up on part 2, which I'll most likely start today, I'll show you, I'll mix up a batch of JB Weld and JB Weld it, and then I'll let it sit overnight, and then I'll take it apart again. And this is where I'm telling you that sometimes these machines aren't even worth fooling with, but we're going to do it. This way you can see what's going on and what to look out for. Now, if the gas tank was really rusted on the inside really bad, I would just have to wait till I came across a decent tank. But I think I could fix that tank, and I think it would be alright. But we'll find out on part 2 on that. Give it a couple of primes. Okay, so I think it was just oil laying in the muffler, because it smoked a lot worse when I first started it up, before I started videotaping this again. So I'm just going to call it a day with this right now. And on the next, on part 2, which like I said, I'll start today, we'll JB weld the tank. And that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.